Hi everyone, welcome to Pursuing an MBA in Europe. So congratulations for registering with Beat the GMAT for this webinar. My name is Eric Lucrezia and I work at ESSEC Business School as the Recruitment Manager for MBA programs. So today we're going to talk about some of the advantages, obviously, of pursuing an MBA in Europe versus outside, with a particular focus on North America, which seems to be, I think, for some, an obvious choice. Some of the best business schools in the world are in the U.S. and Canada, and they're maybe more known. But in other parts of the world, particularly in Europe, there has been a growing number of business schools that have excellent opportunities for you that could be very interesting for you, which is what we're going to examine today. So congratulations on taking the first step. I'm basically going to do the general presentation and then share with you a little bit about ESSEC Business School, and then take questions more towards the end, if that's okay. If I see a question that's particularly relevant to what I'm speaking about at the moment, I'll address it in the moment, but in general, I'm going to answer questions towards the end. So let's go on. If I can get the slide to change. Okay, great. So just looking at a quick snapshot of what is Europe, obviously we know where it is, but it means a lot of different things to different people. Are we talking about, you know, the physical continent of Europe, or the European Union, the Schengen zone, the Eurozone, which is where the euro coin is used in 20-something countries already. So it's a lot of different things to different people. It's a very complex place, and you know, it makes it very interesting. There's about 50 sovereign countries in Europe with over 700 million people. It is collectively the world's largest economy over China and the U.S. There's more than 70 languages spoken here, believe it or not, although, of course, at our MBA, it's all done in English, and the European Union is made up of over 28 different countries at this point. So, yeah, the growing popularity of European business schools, I think, has been due to a number of factors, including the desire to be in a program that is more diverse, an economy that is more fluid. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of possibility when you consider the different sovereign states, which, you know, again, collectively make up the largest economy in the world, but they each have their own weight and strengths. That's quite interesting as well. More and more non-Europeans are coming here. We have a huge influx of people from India, China, Taiwan, Korea, as well as Latin America and North America. In Europe, the top 3 destinations are the UK, then France, and then Germany, as you see. So one of the biggest things when people talk about return on investment is the fact that the European model for MBAs is generally 1 year. That's true for a lot of them, although you'll see many flexible options with a 12-month or 16 or 18-month option if you so choose. Why is this interesting? Think about, you know, when you're doing a full-time MBA, that means you have to stop working. That means you're not earning a salary, and you're paying tuition. So if you think about doing that for 1 year versus 2 years, there's some sacrifices you may have to make. Also, in terms of cost, European MBAs tend to be about half the price of North American MBAs. So right away, the return on investment becomes very interesting when you start looking at Europe. Also, you know, the kind of experience that you're ready to have when you come to Europe, there's much more going on here in terms of different cultures, different languages, different currencies, political and legal systems. There's government at the, you know, the state level, as well as the European Union level, and sort of international stuff. You have NATO and other, the United Nations and other international organizations who all have their stake in Europe. So there's so much going on and so much to be exposed to and learn from. Not to mention a lot of history, culture, art, and beautiful things to experience while you're here. And I think it's very important to note when, you know, especially in these economic times, employers are really looking for people who have a strong sense of diversity, have a, you know, quite international profile, who understand the cultural ramifications in business. And it's not just about language, particularly in sectors like consulting or strategy. Yeah, it's very important having a strong sense of local cultures, particularly in consulting when you're looking at, say, launching a business or inserting into a different market. They want to have people who understand the local culture, that could be sensitive to certain, let's say, conflicts, that would be undetectable for an outsider. So having that exposure to other cultures is super important. So this is kind of what I was saying before about the possibility to graduate faster. Most of the European MBAs, they've started out as 12 months. I think they've sort of been reacting to some concerns from prospects or students coming from North America who might be used to a 2-year model who say, can you really do everything you need to do for an MBA in just 1 year? I think that might be the major concern for a lot of people from the US especially. And so I think a lot of business schools have been responding with adapting their programs to make them flexible, as well as we have done the same. You can do the ESSEC MBA in 12 months as standard, or you could extend your program as you see fit. And I think it really depends on what you're looking to do. If you're somebody who's sort of hit that kind of glass ceiling and you can't get to the next level of management without doing an MBA, that's pretty straightforward. I think a 1-year program is absolutely suitable for that kind of move. But if you're one of those people that's looking to do a lot, if you're very ambitious, if you're looking to do what they call a triple transformation, that is to say you want to change, sector and function and country, that's a lot, and perhaps a 1-year MBA is a little bit short. So in this case, you can do a 14 or an 18-month program where you could go a little bit deeper into the topics you want to focus on in your track. So, and again, what I was saying about your return on investment, the average price, I would say, just speaking averages globally, you can say an MBA is about $50,000 US per year. So if you're doing a 1-year program, it's 50 grand, 2-year, 100 grand. That's really being simple about it. Of course, there's variations everywhere. And converting into euros, so for you to have an idea, ESSEC MBA is 38,000 euro for the 12-month program. And if you decide to extend, actually, there's no extra charge if you do the 14 or the 18-month option. It'll vary from school to school. So as I mentioned, diverse learning environment. So the way we do it, we have people that are handpicked from different sectors of business and different corners of the world. Why? We believe that in MBA, you're not young students. You guys are all between 25 and 35 years old on average. You all bring experience and wisdom to the table, and it's really that peer-to-peer teaching that is what makes an MBA program unique. The professor is not a lecturer there just to deliver information, but more of a moderator who brings the topic to the table, and each person in the program is expected to contribute and really participate and dissect that problem, turn it inside out, and share from their corner of the world and their sector of business how they view it and how they would attack it and how they would approach the situation. And that's the kind of invaluable learning you get from a very diverse program. You don't really see that at American schools, to be honest. Most of the American or North American MBA programs that I've seen have about 80 to 90% American students in them. And I should make a little disclaimer. I'm actually American. I'm from New York. I know you're all impressed with my incredible English accents, but the reality is that when you have so many people from one country in a program, you're not getting any of that exposure. You're not getting any of that mixing that is so invaluable. When I speak to some of the students in our program today who tell me about how it's going, one of the things they appreciate the most is having such diversity. And that's something that Europe's really good at, is attracting a very wide mix of people. And in fact, in ESSEC Global MBA, we only take about 10% French people. So that's 90% people coming from all over the world. And again, we're really careful to handpick people from different countries. So yeah, I should make mention that the program is in English, but of course it is encouraged to learn the local language. So if you're studying in France or Germany or Italy or Spain, you'll of course be encouraged to learn the local language there. At least at ESSEC, you have the option to study any language you want as an elective course, no extra charge. So yeah, in terms of building a global network, diversity is very important as well. During the program, at least at ESSEC, we spend time on up to 4 continents, and if you do the extra semester, the optional semester, there's 5 continents possible, which gives you the opportunity to develop your network all over the world. When you have the chance to mix with people, that is to say students from other parts of the world, professors, and corporate contacts when we do company visits, you'll have the chance to start developing your networks in these places, particularly in your optional exchange semester, to continue to develop your network there. Yeah, as you see from the GMAC statistics, they state that 83% international students are at programs in Europe, and in the U.S. it's 30%, 38% rather, international. So also in terms of class size, this is something that's interesting as well. In the U.S., on average, classes are between 300 to 350 people in their program. That's enormous. In Europe, the average is 100 to 120 people in their program, which is significantly less. It's about 3 times less. At ESSEC, indeed, we take only about 30 people in our program. Our Global MBA, we take about 30, no more than 40 people in our program each year. So we have 1 intake per year in September, and we intentionally keep it very small. Why? Well, first of all, in a program with 350 people, you're not going to know everyone else in the program. It's very hard to have that relationship with all the other participants in the program. The professors are certainly not going to know you. In terms that take about 3 months to complete, the professor is no way going to know all 350 people in the program. And perhaps most importantly, when you do those company visits where you're going to visit, let's say, Exxon or Chase Bank or whatever, and the CEO is speaking, and at the end, everyone wants to make that contact and shake that hand. Do you really think that's going to happen when you have 350 people in the room? No way. So keeping the program very small, I think, is super important. It's just unmanageable when you have that many people. So keeping the class small, greater attention from the professors, among each other, and the corporate context when you're doing company visits. And in terms of career prospects, well, in Europe and worldwide, GMAC reports that 87% of the class of 2012 paid in business in Europe were employed after graduation. European business grads are top paid in the world. It's a growing statistic. Converted to dollars, I think most of people are working in US dollars here today, 105,000 starting salary. It's not bad. So to focus in a little bit more on ESSEC, which is where I'm working, ESSEC Business School is based in Paris, France. Started in 1907, so 107 years old, long history. It is among the Grande École, and for those of you who don't know the Grande École, that is France's equivalent of the Ivy League. So among the best schools in France is ESSEC Business School. So here we're kind of showing the type of profile we're looking for to approach our Global MBA program. Applicants should have at least 3 to 4 years professional experience. So usually that puts them 30 years old, plus or minus 4 or 5 years. Somebody with some leadership experience is good. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be managing other people already. Some do, some don't. Again, we want diversity. Can be managing projects, can be chairing committees, etc. A taste for internationalism, that is to say, either you've already worked abroad, studied abroad, worked for a multinational, perhaps you are dealing with clients, B2B, who are abroad. So any sort of international flair to the profile. And again, all sectors of business. The Global MBA, I'd say it's a sort of triple meaning, global. It's global in who we are. As I mentioned, we have a strong value for diversity. Only 10% French. So today's class includes people from Canada, the USA, Mexico, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Ghana, France, Germany, Japan, China, India. It's really all over the place. And so diverse in terms of who we are, diverse in terms of what we discuss. So the topics are very, very broad. Again, catering to all sectors of business. You see a small list here. Every year we have people from, finance, management, consulting, but also we've had lawyers, people in pharmaceutical industry, military, doctors, marketing, real estate brokers, energies. So it's really quite broad. And in the beginning, the first term, you'll see this in a minute, we focus on general stuff, but you'll really specialize into your area of concentration in the second and third terms. We have over 500 electives to choose from, and so it's global in what you study. And the third way that it's global MBA, is that it's global where we go. We'll spend time on several continents, so you'll see that in a minute as well. So just continuing on, speaking about your goals, reasons why people approach an MBA. Well, for me, there's 3 or 4 maybe general types of people looking to do an MBA. One is the vertical move. So this is the person who wants to obviously advance in their career. I mentioned it earlier, kind of hit that glass ceiling, needs to do an MBA to get to the next level. It's pretty straightforward. Second, change your career field. So this is, for me, I consider a lateral move. Somebody who's looking to either change their function or change the sector of business, or maybe both. So that's the lateral move, career changer. Change of country, third type, somebody who is looking to either move abroad or at least gain more international exposure. And the fourth type that I usually encounter are the entrepreneurs, these creative types who are either, want to launch their own business or just have, and it's going well so far, or maybe it's their father's or their grandfather's business and they're running their family business. And they, in either case, they never maybe had the formal business training, so they feel they lack certain skills and certain information that will help them take that business to the next level. So the entrepreneur is generally the fourth type. So how can ESSEC get you there? What can we offer? So basically, as I said, we're highly diverse, but we also have a very dedicated and, I would say, accessible staff and professors. Our career services team is fantastic. They're there whenever, of course by appointment, but they're available at all times to meet with, to discuss your future, to discuss not only your academic track, but what are your plans for your future, to help connect the dots from starting your MBA to the courses that you choose, to the internships you take, to the actual job at the end. That's what it's all about. As we know, MBAs are not really academic programs. They are career-centered programs. So yes, of course, you're going to learn things along the way. That's what the point of the classes are. But really what it's all about is the network. It's about immersing yourself in the contact net that we have here, whether it be our alumni or our corporate context. It looks like the screen is frozen. Let's try again. Oh, there we go. Yeah. A massive alumni network. There's over 46,000 alumni all around the world on all 5 continents, and super connected with Paris's metropolitan business hub known as La Défense, and Europe and the world. Okay, so pardon the cheesy graphic. So yeah, ESSEC, as I said, is 107 years old. It is among France's Grande École system, so among the top schools in France. We have students and managers from all over the world, from 90 different countries. A global network. It's actually 46,000 alumni on all 5 continents, and we have 3 campuses. The main campus is in Cergy. This is a suburb of Paris, so it's not far. It's about 30-40 minutes by train, which I take every day from Paris to work. The second campus is at La Défense, and then we have one in Singapore. We've been there for 10-15 years. We're also double accredited, so probably most of you know AACSB. This is the United States Business School Accrediting Agency. We're actually the first school outside of the U.S. to be AACSB accredited, and we're also EQUIS accredited, which is the European equivalent. So when I think of sort of what are the pillars of ESSEC, what are the real strengths that define ESSEC upon which its rankings are built, I would say it's these 4: luxury, entrepreneurship, strategy, and finance. These are the areas where ESSEC has time and time again proven itself and really grown and have built amazing careers out of. Many of you might know we also offer an MBA. Let's go back a little bit. An MBA in luxury brand management, as well as hospitality management. These are some, I think when you think of France, those are 2 areas that people think of as luxury and hospitality. So ESSEC has really flourished as the front runner in the world, and certainly in France in these 2 areas. Finance and strategy have kind of been our 2 focuses, as well as entrepreneurship with our ESSEC Ventures organization. So what this is, ESSEC Ventures is a kind of like it's an incubator. It's a sort of a business within our campus, which is freely accessible to all ESSEC students, whether MBA, Grande École, MIM, BBA, etc. And it's basically a giant room with a lot of workspaces where creative people who would like to launch their business idea can meet and discuss and brainstorm. There's also mentors there to help guide you on a legal perspective, as well as cultural ramifications, such as a business that may or may not work in a particular market. And you can also pitch for seed money. So you have this idea, this brilliant business idea you'd like to launch, and you could say, hey, I need, of course, after presenting your business plan, you need, let's say, 50,000 euro to launch this idea, and they'll say, okay, we'll invest 50,000, we want 25%, and you negotiate some kind of deal. You launch your business, you start to make money, they start to recover some of their investment, and they're able to invest in future student projects. So it's self-sustaining. It's quite nice. This works really well. This is ESSEC Ventures, and you should check it out. Just Google ESSEC Ventures, and you'll find all about it on the website. So some stats about after graduation. Let's just say 50% of our people have changed country as well as changed industry after graduation. And here it says 80% of our participants come from outside of France. That's actually not true. It's 90. So it'll be only 10% French in our program, highly international, again, from the countries I mentioned. So ESSEC sort of strategy with our MBA programs, and I'd say all our business courses, is really tailored courses that are adapted to meet your needs and your objectives. We achieve this by keeping the classes very small, professors that are world-renowned, and very accessible still. It's a research-based school, so professors are working on their research, but they still balance their time so that students can access them, sometimes even available just to hang out for a beer in the bar on campus. So it's very, I would say, family feeling here, where people can really be integrated to the campus, know one another, and they have that contact with their professors on a regular basis. So the first thing on the list, the mentoring program. This is something that's really popular. What this is each student in the Global MBA will get their own one-to-one mentor. So this is someone who, sometimes it's an alum, sometimes it's just somebody with whom we have regular contact, maybe because they've hired some of our graduates. But in any case, this is someone who you can meet with on a regular basis. Let's say every 3 or 4 weeks, have a coffee. Sometimes they'll invite you to the office for a staff meeting, or perhaps to join for a cocktail on a Friday after work to get to know some people on the staff. It's a great way to network, to bounce ideas off of perhaps for the projects you're working on, as well as when it comes time for looking for a job. Certainly this is somebody with a lot of contacts, depending on the company or the industry, and of course we'd connect you with somebody who is related to your career path. So it's logical and useful for you. Perhaps even you can practice your interview in front of so it's a very valuable resource, these mentors. People really appreciate that. Friday's career day. So besides the classes, just to give you an idea, in the first term you're taking 6 classes. So that's balanced between morning and afternoon. There's some other activities and events, trips, etc. It'll give you time to meet your mentor. And Friday is career day, where we have different workshops. Sisters resume workshop, or improving your interview skills, different guest speakers, trips to different companies. So lots going on. So what you're seeing here is an image of La Défense. This is Paris's business district. It's like a little mini Manhattan, just in the northwest outskirts of Paris. And CRG, which is where we are, the main campus, is just past that. So it's very well connected to this business district. It makes it easy to visit. The mentors, many of them are based here, and also to Paris. There's a single train line that connects it all. As it says here, Paris is Europe's largest business district. And yeah, interesting stat about ESSEC Ventures, which I mentioned just a minute ago. 95% of ESSEC startups achieve continuing success. That is coming out of ESSEC Ventures. So this is a little, I don't know, collage of logos showing some of the companies with whom we have regular business. So that is either because our students have been hired by these companies, or they've done internships there, via the mentor program, or company visits, presentations on campus. In any case, these are some of our closest partners. It's just a small list, though. You can see a full list on the website. Okay, so here's the program. As I said, it's a 12-month full-time flexible program. So we start off in September. The integration weeks, what that is first we start you off taking everyone in the Global MBA to a place called Saint-Cyr. It's a French military school about 2 hours from Paris, and we're there for a week or so doing team building activities where you're, literally getting the whole team over the wall, or physically building bridges and metaphorically even building bridges to get the team to work together like a well-oiled machine, to get everyone to know one another, learn what kind of a leader you are, a communicator, a follower. So all this team building stuff gets everyone working together very well, to know everyone very well, and to get started. So when you start classes at the end of September, early October, you're ready to go. So first term, again, based in Cergy. This is when you're doing most of your fundamental courses. These courses will honestly be the same at every business school in the world. This is your fundamentals in accounting, finance, marketing, management, etc. Not very exciting, but the basics. And then you go into some more specialization in the second and third terms. Now, our second term in January is what we call the East meets West term. This is when we're going into the differences that exist between business models in the West versus the East. So we spend 5 weeks on our campus in Singapore doing that. And of course, there's more fine differences between between China versus Japan, India, Singapore, Philippines, etc. So this is where also people who are from these areas become experts at some point. They have a lot to share with, okay, this is how we do things in this country or that country. So again, everyone at some point becomes a teacher. Then back in France, those from the Occidental world, the West, will have something to say about where they come from and how things are done there. So it's interesting. Also, in Singapore alone, just during those 5 weeks, we're visiting over 20 companies. So there's a lot of company visits going on then. That's almost one a day, if you think about it, 20 companies in 5 weeks. So in the morning, there'll be the actual visit, whether you're visiting the plant operation or observing at a strategy meeting. And then there'll be some networking opportunity after that. And then case studies and group work in the afternoon and evening. Also, it's nicely timed. While everyone's freezing their butt off in France in the winter, you're off in Singapore enjoying the nice weather on the equator. So that's nice too. Then in the spring, April through June, you have the third term, which is your elective term. You have, as I said earlier, over 500 electives to choose from, and this is where you can focus on your tracks. So we offer tracks in strategy, general management, consulting, finance, entrepreneurship, and I'm forgetting one. It'll come to me. Anyway, besides those electives, we also do a one-week field experience in an emerging country. So now you've already done the East and the West, which are both very different from each other. There's also the fact that they're both developed. So in the emerging market, the idea is that it's not necessarily very developed. You have the situation perhaps where there's not enough finance or infrastructure or traditions that may be holding you back. It's interesting. It can be very frustrating because things may be moving slow, but it's also very exciting because you're sort of inventing as you go. It's a totally different world than the developed East and West models of business. So this is very interesting. We've done this, as you see, South Africa is listed here. That's where we went this past year and the year before. Before that, we went to Russia. This coming year, they're going to be in China. And in the future, we're looking at Turkey and Kenya. So it's rotating each year. And this is what's going on this week. In Africa, in South Africa, we focused on the wine industry. So we had 2 or 3 companies that we worked with. We studied their business model and got to know them and their network, etc. So that was, everyone loves this trip. Actually, in South Africa, it was not only interesting but also delicious. So that being said, that concludes the third term. And in the summer, we have a 2-month immersion project. So the IIP, or the International Immersion Project, is when we send you to work with a company for 2 months over the summer in a foreign country. The way that works is, among the 30 or so participants in the Global MBA, you'll organize yourself into different teams, between 2 or 6 people on a team. And essentially, our Career Services Department will provide you with a list of different projects that are available. And based on the area of the world you want to work in and your sector of business that you're interested in, you'll choose a project that corresponds. So you'll end up in teams, and you'll go to that country to work with that company. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a couple examples. A couple summers ago, we sent a group to Bolivia, to South America, to work with a small family business that worked in the dairy industry. And essentially, this company grew very rapidly to be the largest producer of ice cream in Bolivia. Also delicious. So this company basically grew too rapidly to supply the demand they had created for themselves, some sort of growing pains they were going through. So essentially a friend of theirs said, oh, you should get in touch with ESSEC. They're always producing these young business minds. Maybe they can provide some solutions for you. It was true. So we received at our career services department this request to have people do some consulting for this small company producing ice cream in Bolivia, and this ended up being the consulting project, the IIP, or International Immersion Project, for 4 of our Global MBA students. They went to Bolivia, they worked with that company to study their whole operation, their supply chain, and to actually develop solutions they could implement. So that's pretty cool, because this way you're sort of able to be free and test your creative ideas and see, the fruits of your labor, but at the same time, since you're a student, you're kind of protected, so if it doesn't go so well, you can't get fired. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. So that's what that is, the IIP, at the end of which everyone comes back to Paris, and we call it the capstone project. So each group is there in Paris presenting to the other groups and professors saying, hey, this is what we did, this is what we learned, this is what worked, didn't work, etc. Again, peer-to-peer teaching, and then graduation. Once again, after that, if you so choose, you can do an optional exchange semester with any one of our 263 partner universities abroad. That's one option. Second option, if you want to extend the 12 months, is to do an internship. Or third option is to continue studies on our campus in Cergy, if you want to continue and go deeper down the track that you've prepared for yourself. So I see a lot of questions are coming in. They're kind of all over the place, and I promise to answer all of them, but it's kind of off the track of what we're talking about right now. So I'm just going to continue on and get back to that afterwards. Yeah, this is sort of showing you what I just talked about, so I'm going to skip this and that. Here, some interesting statistics about our current participants. Average age is around 30 years old. We have a record number of women in our program. We have slightly more women than men, which is unbelievable. I've never seen that before. But yeah, last year it was 40% women. So we've always had a good percentage of women, quite balanced in our program, which I've not really seen in other schools. But 55% is really unheard of. Average work experience, 6.3 years. So once again, the absolute minimum is 3 or 4 years professional experience before starting the program, and on average it's 6 or so. So here's some alumni, just to show you some examples of people who have done the program. So Leonardo, he comes from Honduras originally. Before the program, he was working actually in the Philippines at Citibank. For 4.5 years, he did the program. During the program, he absolutely fell in love with Singapore, and he decided that's where he wanted to be afterwards. Now, Leonardo was great. He's smart, he's very friendly, he's got a great personality, and he was really, go-getter about finding his job afterwards. So he, put the feelers out, really developed his network. He actually had 5 offers at the end of the program, 2 in France, 1 in Spain, the 1 in Singapore, and the 5th country I can't remember, but in any case, he chose Singapore, where he really liked it. He's doing QC transaction services. He's actually doing the post-deal mergers and acquisitions at KPMG in Singapore. Okay, next, this is Leslie. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Leslie a week ago. She's based in Munich still, in Germany. She's American, as you see. She's originally from Indiana, and she did the program after having had 4 years experience working in the U.S., and she changed to being a product manager at Hybris in Germany, in Munich. She just joined me at one of the fairs recently. This is Shiram. I've actually met him as well. Originally from India, he was working in Dubai before the program. A senior process engineer. He was working for 5 years, and after the program he decided to stay in Europe. He's working for Klein & Company now for 2 or 3 years in Belgium. He's in Brussels, and I met him as well recently at a fair, which is a good sign. I didn't mention, but Leonardo I met too, with the guy here. I met Leo in Singapore about 8 months ago, Leslie about a week ago in Munich, and Shiram a few months ago in Brussels. I mean, these people are really still involved, supportive, engaged. They really, I think, appreciated their experience at ESSEC and what it's done for their career, and it shows with the fact that they're willing to show up at the events that I work at when I'm looking to meet new prospects for the program. It's a good sign for me. So where we are, in the top left corner, this is where Cergy is. So as I said, it's about 40 or so minutes on the train from the center of Paris. You can choose to live on campus if you want. I think it's a better option because a lot of people are there. It's a great way, socially to connect with other people, but also to work on group projects together in the evenings or the weekends. But some people choose to live in Paris, like me. I make the commute, so it is doable. Yeah, so this is showing one of our residence buildings. Apparently, there's 2 workout centers inside. There's study areas, TV rooms, so there's a lot going on. There's even like a mini kind of supermarket inside, so you can get, quick eats. You can cook there. The the apartments are either single, like a studio apartment, or they have doubles where it's 2, private bedrooms that share a common living space. Anyway, they all have cooking areas inside the apartment, so you can cook your own meals. You have, of course, internet access. And this is just 15 minutes by subway to the campus. So again, we're outside of Paris. This is also outside of Paris. Very well connected, though, by train. And this building is about 15 minutes by subway. There's another building that's even closer. It's just a 10-minute walk to campus. It's even newer than this building. It's one of the more popular ones for the MBA students because it is so new. It's a little bit more expensive. But somebody I saw asked about living expenses. I mentioned the tuition is roughly 38,000 euro per year. When you're considering living expenses, if you stay in these residence halls, you should estimate about 15,000 per year to pay for your rent, your food, transport, all that good stuff. So it's not too bad. Yeah, besides that, there's a great campus life. There's over 100 different clubs and associations. There's a sports facility. There's a workout center. They have basketball courts, tennis courts outside. There's plenty of courses you can take, like sports courses, whether it be fencing, karate, yoga, boxing, all different stuff. So let's move on to the next. Yeah, so this is about how to apply. So it's pretty easy. And I'm winding up the presentation right now, and then I'm going to answer all your questions. So the application is done completely online. You just go to the website, and there's a tab you can click for application. And essentially, all you have to do is create this account. You'll get an account number which you'll use anytime to log in and work on your application. This way, you can, work on the application, save what you've worked on, and come back to it later. You can work on it over a period of time, and then when you're totally sure and ready, you click submit and submit the application. So it's pretty straightforward. Name, address, phone number, email, all the good stuff. Then you have to upload some documents, your ID, your transcripts, diploma, GMAT scores, IELTS scores. So I mentioned here, score highly on the GMAT. Yes, people often ask, what is the minimum score? It's like the big question people are obsessed with. Don't be so obsessed. The GMAT is just a test. It does not really tell me anything about how good you are in business, honestly. For me, the number one most important thing is the interview. Honestly, if you interview very poorly with us, you're probably going to interview very poorly when you're looking for a job after the program. So interview is a strong indicator of your future potential success. But to get the interview, you have to be shortlisted. So this is what becomes important. To get shortlisted for an interview, you need to have great essays, a reasonable GMAT score, letters of recommendation, and an overall appropriate profile. So that is to say at least 3 years professional experience. Some international experience is helpful. Managerial experience is helpful. So as far as GMAT, again, no minimum score. The average score of our current participants is 640, just to give you a guideline, so something to shoot for. But if it's a little bit less, but you also have fantastic references and you have done a great interview, shouldn't be a problem for getting you accepted. Again, I don't feel that a standardized test is an accurate measure of somebody's abilities. Some people who really prepare for the test are not that great in reality, even though they have a great score, whereas others who are fantastic just are not good test takers. So I think you get the point. Same goes for the TOEFL and the IELTS. A word about that. The TOEFL, you should have 100 as the score, and IELTS, the equivalent is 7. So we take either one. Now, obviously, if you're from an English-speaking country, UK, US, Australia, etc., Ireland, you don't need to take the TOEFL, or if you're not from an English-speaking country, but you studied university in English or an English-speaking country, you're also exempt from the TOEFL. So, for example, if you're from Brazil or Italy and you did, university in UCLA or something, you don't need to take the TOEFL at all, so don't worry about that. Somebody asked about the GRE. Yes, we do also accept the GRE as an alternative to the GMAT. In my opinion, I think it's more difficult, but some people feel more comfortable with the GRE. No problem. Either one is fine. I don't know off the top of my head the GMAT equivalent, sorry, the GRE, the GRE equivalent of a 640 GMAT, but there's converter applications on the internet. You can look it up yourself. Then about the essays, I would suggest a couple of things. First of all, people ask, what are the essay questions? Well, very good question. What you need to do is to create an account, as I just told you how to do. And towards the end of the application process, you'll see where you can submit your essays. There's 6 questions plus an optional one. And what I really suggest is that, first of all, you pay attention to answer the question. Sounds obvious, but some people miss it in their excitement. So answer the question. Second, be sure your English is perfect. So, even if you're a native speaker, it's of course always great to have other people read and give their feedback. Checking for grammar, spelling, punctuation, all that good stuff. And 3, I think you should really use the essays as an opportunity for 2 things. 1, to articulate your career goals in the short, medium, and long term. So especially if you're somebody who wants to change a lot of things, what they call that triple transformation, it's an opportunity to articulate those goals and space them out in something that is realistic time frame. And also you can use the essays to address any potential concerns. What elements of your profile that exist that you perceive as potential problems for an admissions team, you can, instead of trying to ignore them, actually address them and say, hey, okay, yeah, there was a gap in my employment, but I had this going on, etc. So it's not about making excuses. It's about just, explaining how a situation was difficult and you learned from it, or, what was going on in your life that impacted the career path that you've chosen so far, and basically why you want to be here. In general, I think for an essay to be strong, you have to think about the reader. Think about who's on the other side of that application. Of course, respecting the parameters given. If there's a word limit, it's definitely a good idea to stay within that or close to it. People who are on these admissions board are probably reading a lot of essays, so they don't want to read, War and Peace. So be sure to respect word limits and really get to the point. So that's my advice overall for essays. All the tests I just said. Oh yeah, regarding the GMAT and the GRE, let's say, there's a number of test prep companies you can use. 2 examples, I know Princeton Review is really good, and we have a relationship with them actually. So I have a code that if you're interested in a 15% discount with Princeton Review, you can shoot me an email, which is at the end of this presentation, and I'll share that with you. There's also Manhattan Prep, who are also excellent. They even offer a new online module, which, usually I'm skeptical of online training modules, but I've tried it myself and it's really excellent. So Manhattan Prep is another great option. Of course, there's a fee associated with these programs, but if you have the money and you're interested in doing so, it's a good option. If you're into self-prep, of course, you can get the books from any bookstore or library and do it on a budget. I definitely suggest that you don't just do isolated test prep questions, that you really, how can I say, do the whole test, do a test simulation from beginning to end with the clock, so you can feel the pressure of, how it is to take the test when it's timed. That's really important. Okay, during the week, a couple hours a week doing practice questions is good, but maybe, every Saturday, several weeks in a row, do the whole test from beginning to end. It's totally boring, it totally sucks, but it's worth it, and that's how you train for it, really. A complement to this, there's something called Beat the GMAT, which is probably why you're all here today, so I suggest you use that, and they have a lot of practice questions, tips, videos like this, so I think that's good. You already obviously know about that. And so that being said, if you get shortlisted for an interview, the interviews are usually done on Skype. So that's, to respect the fact that most of you are at a distance, since we are choosing people who are from all over the world. However, if you so choose, you absolutely can come to Paris and do the interview in person. So that's your choice. You know, the benefit of coming to Paris is that you get to see the campus, and we'd be happy to arrange any time for a tour where you can see, you know, the academic, residential, dining, recreation, sports, everything areas, as well as sit in on a class, have a chat with the professor, some current students, some people who work for the program. Absolutely. So if you can come to campus to do your interview, even better. But, you know, since that is difficult for many people, we absolutely can do it by Skype. I would just suggest that you have a strong internet connection to make the interview run as smooth as possible. That happens. So, speaking of admissions rounds, there's 4. So the first one actually ends at the end of this week, or let's say by the end of the weekend, since it falls on a weekend. So it's pretty tight unless you've already started the application. I doubt any of you would be ready for the end of October. However, the next one is at the end of January, and then there's 2 more after that. So as you see, there's a €170 application fee, which I have the ability to waive for you if you are interested in applying before the end of January. So side note, you don't need to have done the GMAT yet in order to submit your application. So let's just say you're interested in applying and sending your application in this month, next month, anytime before January. I can still get you the fee waiver. You can submit the application, and then you just send us a little email saying, hey, my GMAT date is such and such date, even if it falls after January, even if you're planning on taking the GMAT in February. It's not a problem. You can still submit the application before that deadline. It's always good to submit early because, first of all, the earlier you submit, there's less competition. Not as many people are organized, prepared, and serious enough to get their application in that soon. So if you're able to handle that, you're among a select few, first of all. And second, there's far more scholarship money available. The earlier you apply, the more chances are you can get a scholarship, particularly the diversity scholarship. I'll explain those in a minute. Just to say, if you do get accepted and you decide to register, the deposit is $5,000 to hold your place, and you're registered. And then the rest of the balance is due, you know, after you start. Okay, so I'm missing a slide here, so I'm going to tell you verbally about our scholarships. Sorry about that. Our scholarships, there's 3 what I call in-house scholarships. So the first one, they're all on the website, so it's very easy to find, but just to sum up for you, the Young Potential Leader Scholarship is based on overall excellence. So here's where a good GMAT score is important. Not to say that it's not important to have a good score, but it's not the most important thing for admission. But in terms of scholarships, the higher the score, the more likely you'll be accepted for a scholarship. So the Young Potential Leader overall combination, it's great GMAT, great essays, nailed the interview, strong references, overall great profile, €10,000 scholarship for the Young Potential Leader. Second is the Diversity Scholarship, also for $10,000. And by the way, these could be cumulative. I think it's pretty obvious the Diversity Scholarship is based on, well, diversity. So only thing to keep in mind is that, let's say in a given year we have 50 people, you know, applying for admission who are, you know, qualified and being accepted, and they're all coming from Italy. Well, number 51 is probably not going to get a diversity scholarship. You get the idea. This is also why the earlier you apply, the better it is. The less likely you're going to have so many people coming from your area of the world who would have already, you know, been a recipient for the diversity scholarship. So once again, these are potentially cumulative. So that's 10,000 for Young Potential Leader, 10,000 for diversity. That's already 20,000. Not bad. Considering tuition is 38,000, that's pretty good. Next, there's the third in-house scholarship called the Early Bird, and this is basically based on timing. Not so much when you apply, but how reactive you are after being accepted. So if you apply, get accepted, and you decide you're going to register, if you register within 3 weeks of having been accepted, you can get an additional 5,000 discount, €5,000 discount off the tuition. So that's 5 plus 10 plus 10 potentially. That's €25,000 in total. Pretty nice deal. That's over 2/3 of your tuition costs covered. So that being said, those are the 3 in-house scholarships. There's other scholarships which are more specific, such as the Total Asia Pacific one, it's for people from specific countries in Asia. You'll have to read about those details. It's extremely, extremely specific who qualifies for that. Then there's the Serge Bellinger Scholarship, which is for people who are either American or who have done university in the United States. So this may apply to several of you. Have a look at that. For the in-house scholarships, there's nothing extra to do. You just apply for the program, and upon acceptance, you're told you also are qualified for these scholarships. For the other ones, like Serge Bellinger, the Total Scholarship, etc., these require additional essays and interviews, and that's through the outside agency. So that's totally separate. We're also putting in place anytime now a scholarship with QS. Many of you probably know QS, which is a company that does fairs and other events for people who are interested in MBAs and other business school programs. We're setting up a scholarship with them that'll be worth, it should be, it's in the final stages of approval, an additional 20,000 euro scholarship, which again could be combined with these other ones. So there's some exciting things actually happening right now in terms of budget. We're potentially getting even more money this year for scholarships. So if that goes through, that just means good news for all of you who are potentially applying for the program. So that's all there for you, and that will be announced once it's approved in a couple of weeks. So yeah, this is an aerial shot of campus. So as you can see, it's quite green. Since we're out of the city, we have a lot of green space. That's just one park just behind where you can't see anymore. There's another huge park with a lake. So it's pretty nice for outdoor sports and stuff. Yeah, this is just showing kind of a summary of the 4 MBA programs that we have here. So you have the Global MBA on the bottom left, which is our flagship generalist MBA program. The 2 specialized MBAs and executive MBAs. This executive is for people with 10 or 15 or more years experience. So it's a different category. The executive MBA is also part-time, 14-month program, starts in October, 1 intake per year. Again, part-time, 14-month program, 1 intake per year. We have one based on our campus in Paris and one in our Singapore campus. Then the other 2 specialty MBAs, the Luxury Brand Management MBA is an 11-month program based only in Paris, with it does have 3 one-week field trips abroad. The Hospitality MBA is a 1 or a 2-year program. It depends on how much experience you have. So if you have specific questions about any of these programs, any of the 4 really, of course I can speak about the Global MBA, which is the program for which I'm recruiting. But the other 3, I have some information to share if you need more information about that. And I'll definitely put you in touch with the right person who can give you much more detailed information. So at this point, what I'm going to do is go to the beginning of the question list. I know there's a number of questions. I don't even know if you're still here, but I'm going to answer as best as possible. So let's see. So first question here is, do European programs accept the GRE? It seems only North American programs that do. That's going to vary from school to school basis. Again, as I said, ESSEC, we do accept the GRE as an alternative to the GMAT, so no problem here. As far as other schools, you're going to have to ask each one of them. So the next question says, if I understand correctly, you mean to say that European MBA is much more relevant to Europeans and so much for outsiders. I'm not sure if I understand the question, but I'm going to try to answer what I understand. An MBA done in Europe is absolutely relevant to people from any country. First of all, it's 100% taught in English, and again, I'm speaking in general. Most MBAs that in fact, all MBAs that I've encountered are taught totally in English, first of all, or at least have an option for being taught totally in English. Secondly, they are accredited, well, at least ESSEC is accredited by AACSB and EQUIS, and I think most of the top European business schools that I've encountered are double accredited as well. So that means that the degree has value wherever you go in the world. And then when you talk about return on investment, it's quite interesting in Europe, whether you're European or American, or from Asia or South America or Africa, or wherever. The program is the same. It's generally a 1-year program with a flexible option, which the amount of time you'll have to spend not working is less than in the US. So I hope that answers your question. So it says, can you tell us a little bit about where students live? Paris is hideously expensive. and I am interested in how they find housing. Okay, so we have residence buildings just near campus. There's 4 residence buildings. There's one that's, as I said, a 10-minute walk away, which I think is the best one for the MBA students. It's the newest. It's the most expensive one. It's not hideously expensive for sure. It's about 700 euros per month in the newest building, but it's beautiful, it's clean, it's super close to campus, and on the other side of the building there's another village, so you have like shopping, and it's a very charming, typical, old French village with like stone walls and little stone buildings, and it's very beautiful. The second residence hall that I think people mostly choose, well, there's a second and the third. They're each about 15 minutes away by metro, so it's super connected to campus. The metro stops about 3-4 minutes walk from campus, and then you have the metro itself about 10-15 minutes, so it's super connected to campus. But again, some people choose to live in Paris. I think the benefit of living on campus or near campus is that you're easily there, so when you're doing group projects that go into the evenings during the week, or if you decide to get together on a weekend, you're already close by, so that's convenient. Also for social reasons, you get to know people better, and there's so much campus life happening. Like I said, all the different associations, the sports activities, different parties, lots of stuff happening here on campus. So I think it's, for me, the best option. Some people, though, they prefer to live in Paris. I mean, I'm not a student there. I work at ESSEC. So I live in Paris and I commute here, and it's totally doable. And yes, housing in Paris is expensive. It's the same as London and New York, Copenhagen, Shanghai. It's Sydney. I don't know where you guys are all coming from. I can't really see your origins, but Barcelona as well. These are some of the places that I've lived in the past, and it's super expensive. It's true, but that's how it goes. So next question, can I do an MBA without a bachelor's degree? Well, a bachelor's degree is required. In some rare cases, there have been exceptions. I've had a case, either someone was in military and sort of had an education via military. It wasn't technically a bachelor's degree, but we validated their training as a degree because they took enough courses that qualified. In other cases, I had some people who did some kind of specific certificate programs. Again, it wasn't officially a bachelor's degree, but we qualified it. So if you have a special case where you feel that you could qualify based on either your work experience or other trainings or certifications that could substitute for a bachelor's degree, I suggest you email me and send me your CV, and we'll talk about it. Which, by the way, there's the last page. My email address is on the bottom. So, as I mentioned, if you have a special case about, your degree, you can email me. Also, email me if you're interested in the Princeton Review GMAT or GRE prep course. As I said, we have a partnership with Princeton Review, and if you would like to have a discount, just email me and I'll send you the code. I also mentioned if you are interested in getting your application online in before the second round is up, that's January 31st, I can get you a application fee waiver. So just send me a message to request that. And there was one more thing. Well, if you have any general questions about either the Global MBA or you want to know more about the Luxury Brand MBA or the Hospitality or Executive MBAs, you can also email me about those things. So moving on, do you have the opportunity to study energy, business, sustainability? Well, sustainability is definitely one of the themes we focus on at ESSEC, but energy as well. Energy is an up-and-coming sector. In fact, we're talking right now about creating a track in energy. So already we have the tracks in strategy, finance, marketing, general management, consulting, and entrepreneurship. We're talking about adding a 7th track in energies. So that's there. But sustainability and emerging economies is kind of the 2 big themes that our Global MBA has been oriented around. Of course, you can concentrate on your area of interest, but it's there. So to answer your question, yes. How many candidates are non-European at ESSEC? I mean, we have hundreds of candidates. How many students? Well, as I said, we keep the program very small. We don't take more than 30 or 40. This year, it's something like 25. There's a couple from France, Germany, and the UK. So it's something like, let's just say percentage-wise, it's about like 30% European, 35% European. So 70 to 75% non-European. So we have a large constituency coming from Asia. If you consider, I mean, China and India alone, these two countries, that's more than a third of the world population. So it's a lot of people in these two countries alone. Also considering the wealth and the level of education of these people, naturally there's a lot of people from Asia and China in business schools these days. So we do have a large number of people coming from Asia. Those two countries alone do not make up all of the Asians we have. We do get people, we've had people from Taiwan, from Korea. This year we have 2 Japanese. We've had Bhutan last year. It's interesting. I think that's it so far. And we also, of course, get people from, North America, South America, Africa. We've not had any Australians, to my knowledge, yet. So one of the questions is, oh, no company from the oil or energy sector. Yes, if you notice during the slide where I list the companies with whom we do regular business, one of our most important partners is Total, is in the French oil and gas company. In fact, we have a scholarship with them, which you see on our scholarships page of the website. And where is this page? There you go. So right in the middle, you see a red, blue, and yellow logo with the word Total under it. If you don't know, that is one of the largest companies in France. It was just in the news. They had a tragedy recently. The CEO was in a plane accident in Russia. It was big news just 4 or 5 days ago. So in any case, yes, we have relationships with this company, very important company in France and in the world. So somebody asked, are the trips included in the tuition fees? That's a good and complicated question. So the Singapore experience is not included in the tuition fees. Not in terms of the classes you're taking in Singapore, not in terms of the company visits, but the airfare and the accommodation in Singapore is not taken care of. Why? It's a 5-week program. So it's a 5-week part of the program, and different students in the program have different expectations as far as living quarters. Some people wanted something very luxurious. Some people were happy with something much more modest. So rather than deal with those differences in opinion, we decided, okay, let's remove the Singapore from the tuition. Tuition used to be $45,000, and we've reduced it to $38,000. So then we just said, okay, let the Singapore experience be on your own. We say estimate between 2,000 and 3,000 euros. So actually, it's a better deal in the end. If it was 45,000, now it's 38,000 the tuition, and just Singapore is on your own. Also, we cover the airfare for the 1-week field experience. The airfare and the accommodation. So when we went to South Africa or Russia or China for that 1-week field experience in an emerging country. And in the summer, you have the 2-month international immersion project. So in this case, if you choose one of the projects that we offer, the company has agreed to pay for your accommodation and flight to get you there. So while you're in that country. If you choose your own project, then that's on you, just to put it out there and tell you up front. But yeah, in general, all of the trips are included in the fees. The only one that you have to worry about is the Singapore experience, because it's up to you. But again, we've removed it from the cost of the tuition, so it should be easy to take care of. Then, do we have lateral opportunities for candidates with much higher experience designation? I don't know what you mean. So Nikhil Tripat has asked the question, do we have lateral opportunities for candidates with much higher experience? So I'm guessing you're asking about more of an executive MBA program. And we do have an executive MBA. It's for people usually between 10 and 15 years professional experience, a little bit more perhaps. The absolute bare minimum is 8 years professional experience. But it's sort of an overlap with the Global MBA, because this is like 3 to 10 years and executive 8 to 15 or 16 years experience prior to commencing. So if you're looking for something like an executive program, I can connect you with my colleague who's dealing with that. So then there's a question about residence for students with partners. Yes, absolutely. We have the residence buildings that I just showed you come with single studios, single rooms, or double rooms, which you could do if you have your partner. That's no problem. We have every year people who come with their husbands or wives or even kid. So this is totally possible to work out. If you go to our website, there's a link for ESSEC. It's like ALLEGESEC. I'll write it if I can here. Here, I've just typed it for all of you. ESSEC, this is the Res Life department. So it's on our website, or you could Google it, and it has all the details for each of the 4 different residence buildings, the actual price plan per month based on style of room, etc. All the details are there. So I suggest you check that out. Okay, so again, we get the question, what is the average GMAT for ESSEC? So I'm going to assume you're speaking about the Global MBA because we have multiple programs, but the average score for this current class of the Global MBA is 640. Does a low GMAT score rule you out? Well, it's pretty general. How low? I have no idea what you're asking exactly. You know, low is a relative word. Again, as I said, GMAT is not the most important thing. It's important, but it's not the most important. If a score that's on the lower side is counterbalanced with a very strong profile, that is to say, great references, essays, and if you get shortlisted for an interview to have a great interview, then no, a lower GMAT score is not the worst thing in the world. Again, standardized test is not for everyone. Then, next question, how is the GRE evaluated? Well, we just plug it into one of those online GRE converters, and then we know. Simple as that. Is TOEFL waived for undergraduate in English? Yes. If you've done your undergraduate studies in English, you do not need to take the TOEFL or the IELTS. Okay, the next question. If undergraduate English, oh Jesus, it's in English first. Okay, so the question is, if someone has done their undergraduate studies in English from a prestigious institution in a non-English speaking country, is the TOEFL still be waived? I don't really see what one has to do with the other. The question is, do you speak English? So if it's, you know, the best school in France, but you did your studies in French, I don't really see why we would waive your TOEFL. So if you have a specific case about your English level, and if you're exempt from either taking the TOEFL or the IELTS, let's talk one-on-one in specifics. You can send me your transcript, and I can have a look, and I can give you a much more clear answer. Hope that helps. So next, hi Eric, did we meet a month ago in India? It's quite possible. I was in India a month ago, and I'm going to be in India again. Yeah, actually, my job includes a lot of travel. It's quite fun, but also exhausting. But it's great to get to meet people all over the world. I've been in a number of countries already this fall, and the 2 trips that are left for me are Canada and India. So this fall, sorry, I should say next week, I'll be in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. And I'll be, after that, the second half of November in New Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Chennai. So for a full schedule, you can go to our website and you'll see everywhere I'll be if you'd like to meet in person, if you're going to be in either Canada or India. Okay, so someone asks about financial assistance. So this is pretty well explained on our website. If you click on the Financing Your MBA tab of the Global MBA program website. I already discussed the scholarships. At the end of this, when I have a second, I'll type the scholarships, or actually I'll just put a link there for you. It's better. We'll put the scholarships there for you. The link. But yeah, there's a number of quite generous scholarships available to students. You just need to apply for the program itself. And if you get accepted to the program, you're automatically told what scholarships you qualify for the 3 in-house scholarships. Click on that link that I just sent to you all, And you can see in that purple box it has the 3 that I discussed, and for the other scholarships there's other information there for you to read up on. Okay, so next question. I'm interested in applying for GMAT in November, end of November. Can you waive the application fee for me? Okay, well, as I said, if you apply for the Global MBA program before the end of, if you submit your application before the end of January, I can provide a fee waiver for you. This is nothing to do with the GMAT. So what I did say is that you could submit your application online before having had taken the GMAT. So you just send us a little email saying, hey, I'm going to be submitting my I submitted my application and I'm going to be taking my GMAT on such and such date, and that's no problem. But again, the GMAT is separate from the application itself. The application you do online, you put in all your information, you upload your documents, you complete all your essays, check them to make sure they're perfect, click submit, and you're submitted. If you do that before January 1st, I can waive the application fee. And yeah, the GMAT is separate. So then here, next question says, deposit has to be made in how much time after confirmation? Well, let's put it this way. Your deposit is your confirmation. You're not confirmed until you make your deposit. How many scholarships are awarded per category? Good question. Can't tell you. Essentially, it depends on too many factors, and it's going to vary from year to year. So all you need to know is that there are numerous recipients for each scholarship. We have, well, currently we have a 300,000 euro scholarship budget for our candidates, which may actually get up to 400,000 this year. That's what I said. We were waiting on final approval. But in any case, we have numerous scholarships to give for the best applicants. So don't hesitate to apply now. It's always good to apply early. Again, there's less competition. All right, so next question. I'm married and I have a 3-year-old daughter. Well, congratulations. Next question. How is the loan facility for non-European candidates? Okay, so loans is generally governed by your home country's bank system. So the best way to do that is upon acceptance, you contact the bank that you wish to borrow a loan from and you apply through them. And that's really the way it goes. If you'd like to do so in advance, or if you're from a specific country that you'd like to ask if there's any suggestions about a particular bank, you can ask me, and I'd be happy to try to get some information. I can speak to, like for example, if you're from Argentina and you're looking to take out a loan, I can talk with some of our other candidates from Argentina or South America and see which banks they were successful in borrowing from. Just wanted to put my email up again. Okay. Do applicants from India need to take IELTS or TOEFL? Well, once again, if your studies are done in English, so it's not such a question of what country you're from, are your studies done in English? So if you have a transcript, it has the name of your school and it's all in English, it says that you studied in English, then that's fine. Okay, is there a kindergarten school I can put her in, and where are the costs for schooling her? Okay, that's a very specific question. I'm sorry, I have no idea about the cost for, 5-year-olds going to school. But my colleague, Josiane, who's also the program assistant, she has had some young children of her own, and she's from the area. So I did get a similar question before. I just directed them to Josiane. You can ask her. I'm going to put her email. There you go. That's Josiane Sterling, and there you have her email. Again, she's the program assistant for the Global MBA. In fact, if you are completing your application, you would have all your letters of recommendation sent directly to her. So it's a good email address to keep for general questions about your application status and all that good stuff. I'm here to ask questions about the program itself, about career stuff, about if you need any help with the application process, suggestions for your essays, all this kind of stuff. I'm totally here for you. If you just need to know some very logistical things like, oh, did you receive this document or that, or what's the address or whatever, you can email Josiane. So hopefully Aslam, I can't see your entire name. It's a little bit cut off, so I apologize. Ms. Rizvi, you can send your question to Josiane about your kindergartner schooling. So, next question. Hi, Eric. Broadly speaking, how do Indian students typically finance their MBA costs, considering that most Indian salaries pre-MBA are below global standards? Okay, well, he's left the room, but I'll answer his question anyway. How students finance the MBA is going to vary, obviously, very much from person to person. Those people who are looking to, again, do the vertical move, that is to say, not change sector or function, but just get to the next level of management. If you're willing to stay within the same company, many times companies are willing to sponsor, which is fantastic. So if you have a sponsorship, great. That's one way. Next way, obviously, is savings. Then there's scholarships that we offer. And then finally, savings. Okay, I notice the time is 6:20, which is way longer than it's supposed to go, but I guess we're still going, so why not? I'm just going to try to answer the rest of your questions. Is ESSEC really open to people from all different backgrounds? I have studied design and I am an entrepreneur. Yes, absolutely. We do have people from all different sectors of business. So particularly the fact that you mentioned you're an entrepreneur is an asset, in my opinion, and something that's interesting for us, being that we have our ESSEC Ventures Entrepreneur Incubator on campus. But I'll just rattle off again some of the sectors of business we've had before. You know, the typical stuff like, okay, finance, accounting, marketing, management, consulting, but also we've had lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, chemists, architects, military people. So yeah, I think we've even had designers before. So it is possible, coming from a design background, to do an MBA. Essentially, these are usually the career changers. I don't know what your goal is, and we can talk about that one-to-one if you'd like later. Feel free to email me, please, your CV with your career goals in a couple of sentences, and we'll talk about if the program is right for you. But just to really answer what you were saying is that the career changers who maybe worked in, say, design or pharmacy or, you know, in the military for a while, they've done something for a number of years. Okay, they've enjoyed it for a while, but they're looking for a change. So to gain that business background and sort of fast track you into the world of business is one of the possibilities that an MBA can afford you. So certainly, if you study design, it's possible. Of course, it's going to depend on your overall profile for admission. But yes, definitely possible. Okay, difference between GMBA and MBA. Well, GMBA is what we call our Global MBA. This is the name for the ESSEC full-time MBA. I know it can be confusing because you see the word Masters of Business Administration, and the word MBA. Fine. Don't confuse this with the Masters. The Masters is generally something you do with 0 years experience. I know it can be confusing, especially for people coming from certain countries like India or the United States, where some MBA programs accept people with 0 experience, and you can do your MBA without having at all worked. In Europe and most of the rest of the world, MBAs can only be started after having worked for at least 3 or 4 years. So that's the case with ESSEC, and the name of our MBA program is called the Global MBA. It's our full-time program, and that's the one I've been discussing mainly with you today. Is ESSEC accredited by Association of MBAs? We're doubly accredited by AACSB and ECIS. Okay. So somebody here is an anesthesiologist working in the Middle East wishing to become an entrepreneur. If you have you had any doctors in your program who did MBAs to have changed careers? How are they placed? Okay, so first of all, yes, we've had people coming from a medical background, absolutely. How are they placed? That depends on the case, person to person. I think this is something we can discuss further one-to-one. So please, you have my email on the bottom of the screen. Send me your CV with a few sentences talking about your career goals and why you're approaching or considering approaching an MBA program. trying to read these questions. Someone asks, is a recommendation letter required for admission? Well, yes, it's already been stated that letters of recommendation are required. You can see it on the website as well. So here's how it works. On the admissions page, which I'm going to send you the link right now, all of you in the chat, on the bottom left, there's a sort of checklist that says, are you ready? And then below the picture it says how to apply. And there's a sort of checklist that says professional resume. By the way, especially you Indians out there, 1 to 2 pages max. I know in India it's traditional to have a CV after a couple of years of working, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. This is very typical in India, as I've been learning. In Europe and the US, this is definitely not the standard. And honestly, if I receive a CV of more than 2 pages, I'm going to send it back and ask you to modify it, because that's not how we do it in Europe. So it's just a question of being sensitive to the different cultures. I definitely respect the format done in other countries, but for us, max 1 to 2 pages. Also, you'll see there 3 letters of recommendation, and there's a link that says download a template. So if you download that form, you can just send it to the people who are going to write your write your references. Ask them to fill it out, print it, sign it, and they can scan it and send it directly to Josiane. I already provided the email. So that being said, I've just seen a message from the organizer of the webinar that we have to end the session today. So thank you all for participating. It was great trying to answer your questions. I hope I had answered them as best as possible. I see there are quite a few more still, but unfortunately we're out of time. So I'll say goodbye now, and you have my email at the, somewhere if I can find it. Yeah, there. You have my email at the bottom of the screen, so please feel free to contact me that way. And if you'd like to discuss some specifics, be sure to include your CV, updated, 1 to 2 pages max, with a couple of sentences about your career objectives and what program you'd like to be in. You know, in other words, when you'd like to start, September 2015, 2016, or later. That'd be very helpful. Okay, we have to end right now, so thanks very much, and bye-bye.